We're running 5 minutes later than originally scheduled for the remainder of the night on BBC One. A couple of programmes from 3 to come before we close. Stacey Dooley investigates sex in strange places in half an hour after a comedian's take on politics, which includes strong language.
BBC called me and they were like, Luisa, want you to do a TV show? And I was like, woohoo! And they were like, about politics. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm Louisa Omulan. I'm a comedian, and I'm making a show about politics.
Wow! Did Boris Johnson get into Oxford?
Yeah. How? Trouble is, I don't really understand it.
Oh, fuck! I'm going the wrong way. Ow! Ready? Okay, I'm going to walk into shot. No, I need you to look over there. Yeah, okay. Decided to make a show that was hopefully a bit more informative, most importantly accessible, and braless, walking down a street in central London.
I want to talk about the things that matter to people like you and me.
For every single tenner that men earn, women are earning only £9.03.
It's important that I shed some light on the things that I think are failing us because of what happened to my mum.
My mum died of cancer last year, and I feel like the system really let her down.
Then I took her to A&E. She had stage 4 stomach and bowel. She died 7 weeks later. And she had a horrible, painful death. So that's why I did the show. And I needed the fucking money, so I said yes.
Now me and my dog Bernie are travelling around the UK.
One way, buddy! One way!
England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales.
Don't do as close with my feet, you weirdo.
Just to get people thinking about what's happening around them.
Yeah, there's a lot to be angry about.
Busy day ahead, I'm a taxpayer. What?
This week, I'm tackling public spending.
So all the money that we give in tax, government collects into a big pot. They spend that money on public services.
Like the police, the NHS, local councils are all suffering from underfunding.
This is the money. How do I divide it up? Who do I take care of?
So who needs to contribute more?
They're bending the rules to make sure they minimise their tax.
So it's legal what they're doing.
I want to find out what it would take to fund our public services properly.
Are there enough NHS staff?
No.
Especially because I feel that underfunding played a huge part in why my mum didn't get good treatment.
My mum paid taxes her entire life. She did not deserve the ending that she had.
The system isn't working.
Politics for bitches!
This is your show, so I want you lot to shout out and get involved, because I don't know anything about politics. I never really cared about politics before, and I only started caring this year because something horrific happened to my mum. My mum died nearly 10 months ago now, and my mum went to the doctor complaining that she's got problems in her tummy, and my mum begged for a colonoscopy, right, which is a camera up your bottom. She was into some weird shit. And the doctor said, fine, we'll send you for one. It was a 6-week waiting list. And I don't know if you've had this, Belfast, where you get your GP referral, and the appointment they refer you to is not so quick that it eases your mind, but it's not so far away that you go, I'll just ask for a quicker one. So she waited 6 weeks, and the nurse was there, and she said, this isn't an appointment for a colonoscopy, and it's an appointment with me to see if you warrant one, and you don't. My mum started crying and said, how sick do I have to be before somebody will listen to me? I then took my mum to A&E, and in A&E, she got diagnosed with stage 4 stomach and bowel cancer, and she died 7 weeks later. And I don't understand how the system, I feel, failed her. And to be honest, it's a really hard show for me to do because I've always done comedy. I love comedy. My mum was like my super #1 fan. Although my last show, she was like, darling, what's teabagging mean? And I was like, just you like it strong. That's all it, So that's why I'm interested in politics right now. So I want you guys to tell me, what do you think the current state is with where the tax is being spent and public spending? Public spending is they collect all the tax from all of us and they put it into a giant pot and then they spend that money throughout the year on things for us lot, right? What are your opinions on public spending right now? Have you got any thoughts? Education.
More money for the arts.
More money for the arts, yes.
Less money spent on royalty.
Yeah. Oh, Buckingham Palace is getting a £350 million refurbishment. Mate, I've watched changing rooms. You can do it for a lot less than that, right? You don't. And also, my double glazing, I've got down to £4,500 from 12. I mean, they don't close properly, but it's fine. Right, so let's have a look then. Let's have a look at what they are spending our money on. The government spends our money on services for us, but since the financial crisis 10 years ago, public spending has been slashed by £45 billion.
just coming up here, this is the West Midlands Police HQ. They've lost more than 2,000 officers.
Wow. I'm exploring my local council, Birmingham. In 8 years, it's seen its funding slashed by almost half. Lizzie Glinker, a BBC political reporter, lives here. She's showing me how the cuts have affected the city.
Unfortunately, you sadly see a lot more homeless people now than you used to.
Have you seen like a drastic increase in it then? Is
Yeah,
it quite a notable increase?
It's more than a fourfold increase in rough sleeping. All the support services have been cut. They have stopped doing a lot of things that they used to do. You know, they don't plant flowers anymore.
And it's only going to get worse. Birmingham Council is having to cut another £53 million from its budget this year. What should we be hopeful about? What can we do, if anything, apart from just bury our head under the cover and cry?
One of the ways to try and deal with that is politics. It's about kind of running for your local council, being a school governor. That's one of the ways that you can affect change, that you can try and make the world around you better.
True, but can't I just sign like an online petition instead? I mean, I always thought it was the government's responsibility to look after our services, but maybe with all these cuts, we've got no choice but to get involved. Take this place. The Library of Birmingham is a major cultural landmark, and it's the largest public library in Europe. Can you not do a bomb shot? Can you lift it up higher? So this was like a multi-million pound...
£189 million it cost. But things got so difficult here, the council had to cut their opening hours back. They'd lost about 100 staff.
And now people are tweeting about other Birmingham libraries saying, due to public spending cuts, we're looking for books to be published from the last 12 months to be donated.
You know, that was happening a few years ago.
So they want me to buy a book, to then come to the library,
give it to the library.
To the library to hire my book back that I bought. I mean,
it's not
capitalism at its finest.
It's not the way libraries usually work, I grant you. But these are really hard decisions. You know, the council didn't want to close the library on Sundays. It didn't want to reduce its opening hours. But things like taking care of vulnerable children, that's the stuff.
Takes priority.
That takes priority.
The two are come hand in hand, some would argue, because if you have a community and if you have social services and things based here where children can come to a place where they can learn and get educated, both are as important.
And in an ideal world, that is what you would have, but there is a certain pot of money and they've got to make decisions.
This is what I want to talk about, right? The pot, public spending is 812 billion, right? Per year, mate. Per frickin' year. And to me, that's a lot of money. I'm like, why are there people on the street and things aren't working when you've got that much frickin' money? What do you think they spent 29 billion on? Defence! Look at this bitch go, you're right.
So can we please not antagonise Russia, mate? Because Russia have got this much more than we do, so...
123 billion, what's that going on? Health in the NHS, you're right. 173. Other, mate. What the fuck are you spending 173 billion on that's misfucking-laneous? Like, genuinely. 99 billion. Do you know what 99 billion is spent on? Pensions. So, if you look at all this and you think about what you see in the headlines, like who's to blame for us not having money, I want to ask you, who is to blame? Who is the enemy? Should I tell you who the enemy is? Fucking old people, mate. Old people. Old people. Like you, my friend, old people, the fucking enemy, right? Because pensions, 99 fucking billion, right? And now they all say, oh, if you go to work, you have to pay a pension. Do you know why they're making you all pay a pension? Because what they all agreed many years ago was everybody could retire at 64, 65, and they'd give them a pension. But then fucking everything changed, and then all these old bitches started going vegan. So now they're all living, right? So like 108. And the government's going, oh shit, we've got to keep paying pensions that we haven't got. Oh, young people, you need to pay into pension pot. And who are the people that are voting? Who gets up early and goes to fucking vote? Not people that go, I slept in and watched Dexter on repeat last night. No, it's fucking, I've been waiting for this for the whole year. That's who fucking... And also, do you know why the NHS is failing? Is to get these old biddies that come in, right? They come in, they're like, oh, hello, I've got a bad hip. And then they fuck off back home. And then they go, oh, my other hip, actually, I've come back with my other hip. And then they do the song, don't they? And they're coming back week after week being like, oh, my head and my shoulders and my knees and my toes and my knees and my toes. Old people ruin everything. Old people are draining the economy. Kill all the old people!
Of course, we can't really blame pensioners for having the cheek to live longer. So what's the real reason for the cuts to our services? Can't we just raise more tax from big companies or spend less tax on other things? Time for an expert.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Very formal. It's a very formal tax conversation.
I'm with Helen Miller from the Institute of Fiscal Studies. Oh, cheeky. I want to find out why our tax money doesn't seem to be enough to support our public services.
I always thought tax was quite a dirty word, but actually tax is our money that we earn and we are giving it to the government. They're charging us as much as they ever did.
Yeah.
And those services are not there anymore. So
what's happened recently is we had this big financial crisis in 2008.
Yeah.
And what that basically meant is that before 2008, we had these plans for spending. We were going to spend more on health and more on education. The world looked good, yeah. So what happened is that the government had to reduce the size of spending to say, we're sorry, we've had all these plans, but the money didn't come in.
But some people, I feel like I'm already paying enough and I don't feel like I'm seeing value for money. But what about people like that who feel in that position that they're already being taxed a lot of their income?
So we don't have to raise more tax. We could just say, do you know what, actually we'll have lower education or lower healthcare or less roads or whatever it happens to be. But if we want all those things, we have to say, okay, we want them and who's going to pay for them? Do we cut services? So the government could just cut some areas. Do we shift money across different departments? So over the last few decades, we've cut defence spending, we've increased health spending.
Yeah.
So we've had
moved
more
money
health.
around, haven't
exactly.
you? Yeah.
So if we want to have more money in future, we're either going to have to find somewhere else to cut, which is getting harder and harder, or raise more money, raise more in tax.
Oh, great. That sounds fun. How are we going to raise more taxes? I mean, traditionally, we've been able to get tax from a stable workforce on regular salaries. But modern employment, well, all of that is changing.
Mohan! Hi, I'm Luisa.
Hi.
Thank you so much for meeting me. So you must be my delivery guy.
Yep.
Driver?
Mohan is somebody we all need in our lives. He's a food delivery driver. He's one of a growing band of self-employed workers who's bringing in less cash for the government.
Oh, I've just got a job come through.
Ah, exciting. Hope it's Chinese food. Right, so it's there.
Yeah,
right.
and then I have to swipe to accept it. You get like 15 seconds on some of them, and then if you don't tap the screen,
It goes to somebody else.
It'll go to someone else, yeah.
So you've got to try and always be on it.
Yeah.
Mohan relies on the app to provide him with work, job by job. So it doesn't matter how many hours he puts in, he's only ever paid when he makes a delivery.
No, so we get £3.75 per delivery.
No hourly rate, no day rate.
No, literally per unit of work.
Have you ever had that where you've worked the whole day and made very little?
Yeah, I had one the other day where I had 3 hours and I did like, literally it was like one delivery an hour.
So what it means is all these people that are employed by these companies, they don't know what they're going to earn that week or that month or that year, so they don't have an annual salary. At the moment, there's over 900,000 people on a 0-hour contract, which means if they don't know what they're going to be earning, if they're earning zero in a week, how are they going to pay tax? And where is that money going to the pot for the public spending? Because then what happens? If they can't make money from working and they're contracted to this place, they're going to go to the state for benefits, for housing problems. So what the fuck do we do? Where's the money going to come from?
The rapid rise of insecure work is claimed to be costing the government nearly £4 billion a year in lost tax income and benefit payouts. That's £4 billion that could be spent on our public services. Leslie Giles from the employment think tank, the Work Foundation, has been monitoring the trend.
And where did the idea of these contracts come from?
It's about flexibility.
Okay.
And what that means is that you get the best out of people. You give them freedom, autonomy, control. You enable them to make choices about their life and work balance. What you don't want is a system which is one-sided, where all the risk is loaded on the employee.
So why do you do it?
There's no boss, and you're riding your bike all day. It's not stuck in an office. Technically, I'm running my own business.
So the price of a bit of freedom and fresh air is no insurance, no sick pay, no holiday pay.
Even if I'm not doing the job, someone's still doing it. This is here to stay, and people's lives rely on it.
We have quite a polarised labour market, so it's been growing in a lot of quite low-skilled roles. That's why we've seen recently developments from the government, because that has affected the revenue that they're not getting, because people are stuck on very low wages.
Are you happy?
It's great until something goes wrong, until you have an accident or you have a bike stolen. As soon as things like that happen, you realise that you are on your own with this.
I'll give you a hug.
Cool.
Bye, good luck with everything.
Technology has helped to create more low-income jobs like Mohan's, which bring in less tax to support our public services.
I think I might order a pizza.
So what about the global tech giants themselves? Are they paying their fair share in tax?
If you look at corporations like this, you go, they're making millions and billions of pounds. How much are they putting into that pot? Amazon sales, they went up last year, more than record-breaking sales, billions of pounds. Do you know how much tax they paid? Less. And one of the ways they got round it is they're giving shares to people that worked for them. So by giving shares, it's not profit. If it's not profit, you don't pay tax on it. So even though they're making billions more, they're paying millions less in tax. Google, on 5.7 billion, guess how much it paid? 50 million.
I want to eat some of this balloon. Can I eat some of this balloon?
I wanted to find out just how much tax corporations are paying. Maybe Helen Miller has the answers.
Think about a cake. This is all of government spending. So the question is, where do they get all this cake from? So 40% of it is going to come from taxes on income. That's the money that comes out of your paycheck.
Okay.
Let's say corporation tax, that's one that people often think about. That's about 7%. That's going to be a relatively small slice. So
Are you serious? Why is corporation not that size? Corporation should be equal to income, surely.
We could raise more from corporation tax, but it's a trade-off. So if we raise more, the big concern is, what if you have fewer companies then who come and put jobs in the UK? That's bad for UK workers.
But surely they won't leave that quickly, because there's benefits to being in a country like the UK.
Absolutely.
Is that not like a bit of fear-mongering to be like, oh, they'll leave. Can't we almost be like, we'll leave then, mate?
Again, it's one of those things that, have we got the right corporation tax rate now? Probably not. Could we put it up a bit? Yeah, probably. But it's this balancing act.
What about there's been loads of stuff in the news over the recent years, hasn't there, about companies not paying enough tax? And is it that they've avoided paying tax, or they know how to work the system to pay least possible?
It's legal, but they're bending the rules to make sure they minimise their tax.
So how are they getting away with not paying much tax? Why isn't the government going after them?
When you dig into it, it's happening for reasons you don't expect. If you think about something like Google, they are making some profits in the UK, but a lot of that technology was made in the US, so the profits are being sent to other countries to say, well, actually, that underlying value wasn't created in the UK, so the profit goes somewhere else and is taxed somewhere else.
This is mental. Jesus, I thought it would be quite easy and you could just blame somebody, but this sounds very complicated. No wonder it's taking a while to figure out.
Who's using Google? All of us. Who's using Amazon? I want my pet food delivered the next day. I want my paintbrushes delivered before 1 p.m. right now. So I'm part of the problem because I'm using Amazon to pay for these things. So you go, okay, they don't pay a lot of tax, but we're paying for it because we use it because it's really convenient. And sometimes the truth is an inconvenience. Like, did you know that cow's milk is actually meant for baby cows? I know, I didn't know either, mate, right? I mean, no, cow's milk is for me because I have to have calcium. That's what they tell me for my bones. And they go, no, what they do is they get the mother pregnant, then they take the baby away from her, and then I know, right? Fucking mind blown. Yeah, oh, but well, I've got to do so. I'm going to go soya. And the next time you go to Starbucks, you're like, can I have a soya latte, please? Because I'm doing my bit for the environment and the baby cows. Can I have a soya latte? Thank you. And then you're like, I'll stick. Or just a small regular latte, just small, and no one will notice. We've got UHT, that's different, isn't it? Fuck knows, right?
Action?
Where are you walking to?
This way.
Go on then, go.
Action?
Go.
Say action.
Yeah.
Are you actually recording?
I'm recording, yeah.
No, you're not. You haven't pressed the red button yet.
I am. Okay, go on. Look.
Okay, you need to say action.
We're ready to go.
Action.
Action.
Thank you.
There's got to be a better way, where companies are paying more tax and where people who want flexible hours are still contributing to the public spending pot. So I've come to an actual castle to find at least one modern digital company who's trying to strike a balance.
You don't look like a guy that runs a castle, mate.
Chris Walling runs a financial comparison website. He's gone to extraordinary lengths to create the perfect workplace for his 60-plus staff.
What made you think castle office?
We spend half our waking lives
Yeah.
in the office, so why not make it somewhere amazing?
Mate, you've got an acorn in the ceiling.
Chris has spent nearly £3 million on sprucing up the office, but he's also offering a way of working that suits his staff.
I think people care more about things such as flexible working hours and being able to work from home. It's those things that matter to people most.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the icing on the cake. This is one of the rooms that Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen designed.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Chris's company profited £4.6 million last year with just 60 members of staff.
Wow.
And he managed to do it with a flexible workforce.
I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we were the second fastest growing company in the UK in terms of profit.
So it's working. Doing this is working for you.
Yeah, it stands to reason treating your team well, it makes good business sense.
And guess what? The company pays tax. Woohoo! Well over £500,000 last year, as of course do all the staff.
Do you like working here?
I absolutely love working here.
That's a ridiculous. Nobody ever says that. Whoever says that they love working at their job?
It's massively flexible here. As long as you do the core hours, you can come and go sort of freely as you please. If you wanted to come in a bit earlier, you leave early. What that means is that people have genuinely got a good balance of family and work life, and that's why people are so happy here. People don't go off sick because people are just like happy and healthy. People don't leave.
Like a cult. Look at her. She's so like.
I am totally.
You're
sold.
so obsessed. You're not like bored of each other by the end of the day.
This workforce still shares the freedom and flexibility of people who work freelance.
You can have fun, and you can also make profits. It's 100%. You can do them both.
But as employees, they pay an average of £1,200 more in taxes a year than somebody who is self-employed.
Hello, Nathan. Do you really love it, or is that just what you're told to say?
No, I really love it.
Oh, I haven't met anybody that doesn't love it.
Not all businesses can afford to be so generous, but if we could create more proper jobs with decent wages and decent environments, well, maybe then we would be up for paying a little bit more in tax.
You're asking a very interesting...
Yeah, and then you fucking ruined our whole flow.
Come on, rich for tax. Why don't rich for
Yeah, that was my point.
I'm not giving up, Helen Miller. There's got to be a way of raising enough tax to fix this public spending issue.
What about like people that are very wealthy? Once you're earning over 100k, you've got everyone settled, then you start paying tax. What about an idea like that?
So if we did that, you would have to put up their tax rates so high that you have real problems with them stopping working. This is one of the reasons it's hard to tax rich people, is because if we try and tax rich people and they set up their own companies and they pay themselves dividends rather than an income.
Okay, I'm going to do the dividend thing. Set up your own company, whatever you want to call it. Louisa loves Bernie is taken. Pay yourself a basic low salary, and then the dividends is where you can cash in the cow.
But if we all do that, we are definitely going to have a problem with paying for the NHS.
Wow, here she is.
Someone's got to pay for the NHS.
Right, who's paying for the bloody NHS?
Let me tell you about the NHS. They say there's no money in the NHS, and the NHS has lost money. The government is giving the NHS more money than they've ever given before. But I want you to think of it. Imagine I work in a donut shop. That's my job. Job? I mean career. What? I'm in a donut shop, right? And I have 100 donuts. I have 100 customers. I give them a donut each. It's fine. And then the government comes along and goes, hello. And you go, oh, hi, government. We're going to help you sell more donuts. Really? That's amazing, because I could really do with giving out more donuts. Yes, you will. Bless you. We're going to give you more donuts. We're going to give you one extra donut. And you're like, what? One extra? Oh, well, that's not... Oh, okay. So yes, I've got more donuts. Donut, right? So now the only problem is I've got 40,000 people coming in for a fucking donut, and I've only got 101. So what happens? You start giving one. Oh shit, I'm running out. Half. Oh, I'll give you a quarter. Oh shit, a crumb. Shit. And then you end up with 20,000 people waiting on corridors, dying. Why? Because I haven't got enough fucking donuts. And if that's not an analogy for the state of the NHS right now, mate, I don't know what fucking is, right?
My mum died of cancer a year ago, and I struggled to come to terms with how I feel she was let down by the system.
Hello. I'm going to be speaking to somebody today from an independent think tank group, and they look about the NHS and how it's spending money. I won't lie, I'm quite nervous about this interview. I just don't like speaking to anybody about the NHS or anything like that.
The King's Fund is at the forefront of health policy research. I'm meeting Chief Analyst Shivaram Deceiver. He's a leading authority on NHS funding.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm a bit nervous about this interview, I won't lie. So I've got quite a personal experience and personal view of the NHS, and so that's why I'm dreading this chat with you. My mum, she got cancer very quickly. She was not diagnosed for a long time. So my opinion of the NHS is it failed her.
So first of all, I'm really sorry about your mum.
Yeah, me too.
When people look at the NHS at the moment, they see a service they love,
Yeah.
but a service that is under incredible strain. Things like public health, mental health services, and social care, supporting people in their own homes, all of these services have been cut to the bone. You've got to look at how much funding is coming into the NHS. That's probably where I'd focus as the root of a lot of the problems we're having at the moment.
Do you think the NHS is doing enough to tackle cancer?
And you look at survival for common cancers, and we trail behind Australia, Canada, Sweden, some of the countries that we would consider peers. So why we're doing poorly compared to them is early detection and diagnosis of cancer and rapid access to treatment when you detect cancer.
They did the scans in A&E and they said it's quite an aggressive form of cancer. They wanted us to see an oncologist, but the oncologist only works on Mondays, and he was not available for another 3 weeks. But that third week is a bank holiday weekend, so he won't be available for 4 weeks. So we had to wait 4 weeks to see a cancer specialist. She started getting in a lot of pain, and I called out to the hospital, and they said, you can bring her back in, but you'll have to go through A&E. Can I not just bring her to the ward? They said, no. She's not plugged into an oncologist yet. I said, can I speak to a Marie Curie nurse? No, because she's not plugged into an oncologist yet. You don't get Marie Curie until you've got the oncologist. So I rang up loads of cancer charities. You can't get cancer charities on board until you've got the fucking oncologist. But the 4 week wait for the oncologist meant that we weren't tapped into anybody. I called 999, I called 111, I called every helpline I could think of to support my mum. And it got to the point where I went to the oncologist. He said, there's no helping your mum. I said, please, there must be something you can do. It's 2017. Somebody cannot die like this. They said, there's nothing we can do. Your mum will go home to die. My mum paid taxes her entire life. She did not deserve the ending that she had.
We're paying the price for this with the lives of our loved ones. And in my experience, there weren't enough staff.
We're carrying 100,000 vacancies.
Wow.
So 10% of nursing posts, 8% of medical posts that we can't fill with permanent staff.
You think the NHS is salvageable?
Yeah, absolutely. But the solution's always been, we'll give you a little bit extra money, tide you over for the next year.
The government have taken some action. They've announced an extra £20 billion for the NHS over the next 5 years, and they've promised to come up with a long-term funding plan. But we also need to find alternative ways to relieve the pressure on our health service.
People say the NHS has done incredible things, and it has, but really it should be a service that is about health promotion, keeping people well. So that you
rather
don't
than just
need
treat them when
treatment.
they're sick, yeah.
Absolutely.
Which makes much more sense, because people deserve a good, healthy life, and they deserve a good death, actually.
Investing in prevention could be the key to saving the health service. We already spend more than £10 billion a year on preventative healthcare, so perhaps there's an even more radical solution to encourage us to lead healthier lives. Anthony Painter is backing an idea which is gaining a lot of political support. Free cash for everybody.
Why don't you give people some basic level of cash and then they can build on top of that with their work? And what that basic level of cash is called is a universal basic income. Everyone gets it, and that gives you...
And that's everyone, no matter if you're rich, poor, whatever, everyone gets it.
Yes, including children. I think you'd start off on about £5,000 per person, something like that.
What does that enable people to do, giving them that money?
It's something to build on. So that will meet your basic living costs. So you'll go out to work and you'll supplement that with your wages. Give people security, and then you can help them work through their other problems, and you give them support to do that.
And then that raises society as a whole, doesn't
Exactly.
So this income would be available to everyone with no strings attached. But how would handing out free money to everybody encourage the nation to stay healthy?
They tried it, interestingly, in a number of places in the US and Canada in the 1970s, just pilots. And the impact was better health, better well-being, improved education, reduction in domestic violence, reduction in mental health issues. The impacts are obvious. We know that it works. You know, by giving people a core income, they're better able to get to a point where they are self-sustaining, self-supporting, and they are making a contribution.
Yes, that means more people working and contributing to the pot. But what's the catch?
So will it cost more in taxes for everybody?
Yes, there is cost, but even in the last few years, you look, we've given big corporations a tax break of £20 billion a year by 2020. And do you know what? That £20 billion a year can pay for the scheme that I've just outlined to give people access to 2 years of basic income in every 10 in their villages. Yeah.
This isn't a pipe dream, mate. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon is backing the idea, and it's currently being trialled by 4 Scottish councils.
You know, universal basic income is not going to solve everything. Setting up the NHS was a challenging thing, actually.
Yeah.
You know, it required a big government investment, but it shows that what you can do when you can pull people together and say, we're in this together.
But if the majority of people could be empowered to know that actually there are solutions and there are people trying out new ideas, I think that can only be a good thing to empower them to realise how much power they have to make a change.
I agree.
The majority of people are not happy with the cuts to public spending. But I think surely a start is to get informed. You don't have to go on a march, but maybe just talk to your mates about it and learn amongst your own circles, actually what's going on for us. Yeah, you might have a nice job, and so it doesn't affect you right now. But what about the day you get burgled, or the day you get cancer? And then you're going to be thinking, why is this taking so long to process? Where's the doctors? Oh, because it's the services. Where are the services? Well, they've been cut. What? Oh, now I fucking care. Care now before you have to.
Care for some BAFTA award-winning comedy? The Corrupt FM crew dial up the laughs. People Just Do Nothing. Available now on BBC iPlayer.
I met someone. There's something weird about him. People he's with.
We found the worst people in the world again.
I didn't do this, Holly.
The new series of BBC Three's Clique. Available now on BBC iPlayer.
Ahead of the next episode of Louis Theroux's Altered States on Sunday, why not go through some of his classic groundbreaking documentaries? Available now on BBC iPlayer.
Stay exactly where you are, don't move. Are you up for it?
Let's go for a drive.
Hallelujah!
We need the risks.
No, I did. If they did, they wouldn't do it.
Extraordinary.
Every episode available now on BBC iPlayer.
From a little while ago now on BBC One, another chance to see Stacey Dooley Investigates from 3, with some scenes which some viewers may find upsetting and some strong language. Later in the film, journey into the troubled world of sex workers in Turkey.
3.